You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-Mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-Mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Friday, 15th day of May, 2026. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is our live training room. So to get in there, you have to be a member or taking your 1-week free trial. If you have not taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us at the top of the hour, he'll walk you through step by step how to get signed up. We'll get your indicators up and indicating today. Your trial will officially begin Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we'll run all the way through next Friday when the market closes. Why is this not loading? I don't know. I'll just let it go, I guess. Anyway. This broadcast is open to the public. Everybody, everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways to join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day you'll get an email about an hour before the broadcast starts. In the email there will be a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is click the link in the email and it will automatically log you into our platform. The benefit of doing it that way is you immediately have access to the question box. So you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there will be days you're out of the office, away from your desktop, but you still want to join live. And some days you'll be busy. So you can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there are over 3,000 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And if you're new to our neck of the woods, it's a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more, a lot more. Obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to. But it is a great resource to have at your fingertips if you're new, because it allows you to see how we've evolved over all these years, day by day by day. youtube.com/CFRN. On the left side of the screen is our schedule for the afternoon broadcast. At the top of the hour, 1 p.m. Eastern, Michael will join us for a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room, and then do a little live trading as time and the markets permit. Right now, we'll jump into our daily devotional, which is where we start each and every afternoon broadcast. The topic that we've been on it for 24 days. We still got a little ways to go. Everyday faith. Our scripture today is Matthew 16, verse 15. I'll share it with you from the NIV translation. But what about you, he asked. Who do you say I am? And that's a good question for you. Who do you say he is? Again, Matthew 16, 15. The disciples had been with him. They had heard the Sermon on the Mount. They had watched storms obey him, and they had seen demons flee. They had lived inside his presence. But Jesus did not allow observation to remain neutral. He turned and asked, "Who do you say that I am?" Not, "What are you learning?" Not, "Are you inspired?" Not, "Have I helped you?" Who am I? That was the question. And that question remains today. Who do you say he is? Some followers had answers like John the Baptist, Elijah, Jeremiah, one of the top prophets. None of these confessions required surrender. The question Jesus asked was not about information. It was about authority. It was about identity. It was about whether the disciples would stake their lives on who he truly was. Peter answered with clarity, "You are the Christ, the Anointed One, the promised King, the Son of the living God." That confession, if you make it, will rearrange your heart, just as it did for Peter over 2,000 years ago. If Jesus is merely a moral teacher, we retain control. If he's a spiritual guide, we negotiate. If he is Lord, we yield. The difference is not semantic, it is foundational. One keeps us at the center, the other moves us under his rule. Mature faith cannot live at a distance. It must answer Christ directly. And the answer is not spoken with guesses. It is spoken in obedience, in decisions, in priorities, in what we protect and what we release. Confession precedes commission. Authority precedes assignment. Jesus does not build his ambassadors out of admirers. Question: where in your life does your confession of Christ as Lord still compete with your desire to remain in control? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, search our hearts, search our confession. Expose where it is verbal but not heartfelt and honest. We ask today that you would establish your authority in us. Remove all hesitation. Let our allegiance to you be whole and complete. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen and happy Friday. Everybody's been working for the weekend, and here it is with blood in the streets. Not going to say I told you so, but I did. No, seriously, I did. Remember? I will get to that in a bit. First, let me give you the numbers from around the world. Then we'll take a look at some news. And then we'll look at the alerts, see where we stand for the week. We'll then go to the charts, and then Michael will join us at the top of the hour. Okay, starting here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. I'm warning you, it's not pretty, but you probably already know that. Currently, the Dow's down 537 points, over 1%. The NASDAQ is down 381, 1.5%. S&P 500 is down 82, over 1%. The Russell 2000, down 70 points, 2.5%. That's the truth about trading. In the commodity basket, it's not getting any prettier. Crude oil is up $4.28, trading 105.45 last. That's a gain of 4.25%. Now, for those of you who trade futures, we officially rolled forward to the N contract. That's N as in Nancy. So your symbol will now be CLN 26. Gold is down $145.50, trading 45.39 last. That's a drop of well over 3%. Silver is down $8.78, trading 76.54 last. That's a drop of almost 10.5%. The heck is going on, man? In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei dropped 1,244 points, 2%. Shanghai dropped 45, over 1%. The Hang Seng fell 426 points, over 1.5%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE down 177, it's 1.75%. The DAX fell 501, over 2%. And the CAC down 129, over 1.5%. So that gave us a red day in Asia. It was a red day for the UK. And at the moment, it's a big red Radio Friday here in the US of A. Now we get to the charts. It'll make sense. It won't make you feel any better. Now, don't get me wrong. We trade futures primarily. And we're starting to do options. But beautiful thing about futures is you can be long, short, and long again all in the same hour if that's what the market or what the chart in front of you is telling you to do. So whether the market's up or down, the opportunity to generate income, it's always there. And for a bull market to remain healthy, it has to have decent corrections. This market has just repeatedly, day after day after day after day, put in new all-time historic highs. And I've been preaching now for weeks, guys, this cannot go on forever. It's just not how markets work. So, hey, If today's sell-off is as bad as it gets, well, if it gets worse, that's okay. I'll show you in the charts when we get there. Look at the news first. Oh, what do we got? President Trump travels back to the U.S. today after concluding the first presidential visit to China in nearly a decade. Trump met with Chinese leader Xi behind closed doors for over 2 hours yesterday afternoon. Trump said Xi expressed interest in brokering an end to the Iran war. Xi also reportedly warned of clashes between the U.S. and China if the U.S. supports Taiwan's independence. While the U.S. does not officially recognize Taiwan as a sovereign state, it maintains strong economic ties with the self-governing island. Trump last year authorized an $11 billion arms sale to Taiwan, but it has yet to be delivered. The centerpiece of the visit was a state banquet last night, where the two leaders exchanged praise, and Trump invited Xi to the White House in September. So, we don't know what happened behind closed doors, but publicly it was a mutual admiration club. Honda reported its first annual loss since becoming a publicly listed company in 1957. Let me say that again. Honda. You know, they make the cars and the motorcycles. Reported its first annual loss since becoming a publicly listed company in 1957. It's before I was born. The $2.7 billion drop comes months after the Japanese car maker scaled back its electric vehicle plans in the U.S. In 2021, Honda pledged to ensure its entire fleet would be electric or hydrogen powered by 2040. It aimed to do so in part through in-house development and in part through partnerships with General Motors and Sony. However, the company cited tariffs and the end of electric vehicle tax credits as reasons for a reduced consumer appetite in the U.S. for EVs over the past year. Now Honda says it will refocus on hybrid vehicles, financial services, and motorcycles. The company was founded by Honda Soichiro, who began working as a mechanic at the age of 15. I guess that's Japan's version of Henry Ford. Well, let's look at the Wall Street news. What do we got? U.S. stocks sank today, retreating from record highs as inflation worries preyed on markets busy gauging the success of the Trump-Xi summit in China. Stocks pulled back after President Trump concluded his visit with his Chinese counterpart before flying back to Washington. The two-day summit struck a business-friendly tone, involving 16 top U.S. executives and delivering new deals for both Boeing and NVIDIA. However, the diplomatic issues of Taiwan and Iran continued to lurk in the background. U.S. officials hoped that China would help end the war with Iran by using its influence with its major oil supplier. Trump said China and the U.S. feel pretty much the same about Iran, but Xi struck a more measured tone. The lack of progress towards peace has stoked concern about the conflict's price pressures, shown in this week's U.S. inflation readings. Oil futures rose over 2%, with Brent trading around $108 a barrel. In turn, benchmark 10-year Treasury yields continued its climb above 4.5%, and the 30-year yield topped 5%. Chinese leader Xi hailed the results of his meetings with U.S. President Donald Trump and touted an agreement on a new relationship for their countries, projecting optimism despite unresolved tensions and limited deals announced so far. This visit is a historic and landmark visit. Thus far, we have established a new bilateral relationship, a constructive, strategic, stable relationship, which constitutes a milestone event. She said this while hosting Trump in the secretive headquarters of the ruling Communist Party and residence of its top leaders. We have achieved. He even took Trump to the Forbidden City. So there was a lot of highly choreographed pageantry, and we accomplished, well, we'll see what we accomplished, because China doesn't always do what they say they're going to do. So we'll see how it all shakes out. And that's really what has the market concerned today. The markets hate uncertainty. Pocahontas, aka Elizabeth Warren, the top Democrat on the Senate Banking Committee, sent incoming Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh a letter about his assets on Friday morning. We're so glad to have a new Fed head. Jerome Powell will go down in history as the worst Fed governor ever. So this letter that Elizabeth Warren sent to Kevin says, I write to request an update on the status of your divestments, including information about who you sold your assets to and on what terms, Warren wrote. Warsh is required to make divestments before assuming the position of chair. Warren pressed Warsh during his April nomination hearing on whether he would disclose how he planned to divest his assets. Warsh said he is working tirelessly with the Office of Government Ethics and agreed to sell all of his financial assets if confirmed. Warsh holds significant undisclosed investments in a vehicle called the Juggernaut Fund, with two holdings valued at more than $50 million each. The fund is managed by the Duquesne family office. I mispronounced that. I have no idea how to say that. The personal investment firm of billionaire hedge fund manager Stanley Druckenmiller. Warsh joined as an advisor after leaving the Fed in 2011. So this whole Fed business is nothing new to Kevin Warsh. He was a member, but now he's in charge. He left the Fed back in 2011. Now he's come back as the man in charge. The assets held in funds are undisclosed due to existing confidentiality obligations and have drawn scrutiny from Democrats, of course. Warsh pledged to divest these assets along with stakes in SpaceX and Polymarket to comply with ethics requirements. Warren has concerns about the transactions. If Druckenmiller or someone else is writing Warsh a $100 million check right before he starts as chair of the Federal Reserve, that raises questions about what kind of access the buyer might have to Warsh during his term. She's just trying to stir up something out of nothing. The man said, I'm going to sell everything I got. End of story. Oh no, not for Pocahontas. Warren previously sent a letter to Druckenmiller on May 5 requesting that he release Warsh from any confidentiality agreements that prevent him from disclosing more than $100 million in assets. Warren also asked Druckenmiller if he plans to facilitate Warsh's divestiture of these assets by cashing out his investments in these funds. In her Friday letter, Warren requested that Warsh provide information by May 29th on whether he divested from the mysterious Juggernaut Fund and other funds, as well as the terms of his divestment. She was on to say, "Your lack of transparency poses a problem." The guy's been completely transparent. One or more of your dozens of funds and entities could hold stock in a prohibited financial institution and the public would never know, Warren wrote. During your confirmation process, I asked you to disclose your assets as well as ask if you had sought to extricate yourself from the confidentiality agreements, preventing your disclosure. You failed to meaningfully respond. She never stops trying to stir up trouble. She's anti-crypto. We got to get her out of office. Surging Treasury yields sent the stock market a warning today amid a sell-off in global bonds. The 30-year Treasury yield rose 10 basis points to reach 5.12%, its highest level since June of 2007. The 10-year benchmark yield climbed 11 basis points to 4.57%, its highest level since May of 2025. Bond yields and prices move in opposite directions, meaning that when yields rise, prices fall. Both bonds broke above the key psychological levels of 5% and 4.5% respectively. The 5% zone for the so-called long bond represents a danger zone that has tightened financial conditions in the past. Concerns about rising inflation and hawkish Federal Reserve policy appear to be behind the move in bonds today. Now we go to the charts. I'll just show you technically what's going on and why you shouldn't be too concerned. Two market history studies are telling very different stories about this current rally. The first one is giving bulls permission to stay in the trade. The spider, SPY, just flashed a rare weekly momentum signal, closing above its upper Bollinger Band for the first time in more than a year. In plain English, the S&P 500 ETF just surged above its normal trading range, something it's only done 7 times since it was launched in 1993. That can sound overheated, but the historical read from Astra Insights is more forgiving. Similar signals have often been messy over the next few weeks, but the longer-term returns have been strong, with the ETF positive 9 months and 1 year later in every prior instance shown. That's the bull case. Strength tends to beget strength. The second study is where the story gets trickier. The S&P 500 has been hitting record highs daily with fewer than, but this is what we talked about. This was not, of the 500 companies, this upward movement in the index was resting on the shoulders of just a few companies. Fewer than 60% of stocks trading above their 50-day and 200-day moving averages. The only other period where that combination showed up was from December 1998 through March 2000, which was the final stretch of the dot-com melt-up. It doesn't mean the market is necessarily due for a repeat of the 2000 sell-off, but it does mean the rally is starting to rhyme with one of the most famous narrow momentum-led markets in history. AI heavyweight Nvidia will report its first quarter results on May 20th. In what is easily one of the most anticipated announcements of the earnings season. Now, this earnings season has been incredibly bullish, historic. NVIDIA's results come after CEO Jensen Huang traveled to China with President Trump for a summit with Xi. Investors were hoping Xi would agree to import the company's chips into the country, but Trump told reporters Friday that China is instead focusing on developing its own AI processors. NVIDIA had, call it some 90 some odd percent of the world's market share. NVIDIA's CEO said in an interview, "Today in China, we have now dropped to zero." In addition to China woes, NVIDIA is contending with increasing competition in the AI chip space. Chip company Cerebras held its initial public offering yesterday with shares climbing 68%. NVIDIA is also facing ever-increasing competition from AMD, which will launch a competing rack-scale server system later this year, as well as from customers including Amazon and Google, who are offering their AI chips to third-party customers. In its latest earnings report, Amazon announced that its chip business now has an annual revenue run rate of more than $20 billion and is growing at triple-digit percentages year over year. The company also said it signed a deal with OpenAI via AWS to provide 2 gigawatts of capacity for its Trainium chips, and that Anthropic agreed to use up to 5 gigawatts of current and future Trainium chips. So let the chips fall where they may, right? All right, let's cap the news with this. The dollar gained for a 5th straight day today and is poised for its largest weekly percentage rise in 2 months, as market expectations for the path of monetary policy from the Federal Reserve continue to shift towards possible rate hikes. Wow. If Kevin has to raise rates at his first Fed meeting, that's not going to be very popular. But it also may be his way of showing the world, I'm running this thing, not Trump. Now, Jerome, who, as I mentioned, became the worst Fed governor in history, he was appointed by Trump during his first term. So we'll see what happens. Let's move on. Logic 247. That's our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. It's not just E-minis, but also crude, gold, and silver. We're currently in week 406. Over the last 406 weeks, we've issued over 22,300 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based simply on market structure. And a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. So far this week, since the market opened last Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we issued a total of 75 alerts this week. One never triggered. I think that's one that I accidentally duplicated. And at the time Valerie did the recap this morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, we were still waiting on the outcome of 16. Those are probably longs, so I don't know how much it will change when she finalizes the recap for the week this afternoon or tomorrow morning. And of course, she'll post it in all the appropriate places. Now, last week, week 405, was a historic week We issued 71 alerts, 24 never triggered. So we had 47 actionable alerts, 0 stop outs. I think that's the first time there were no stop outs in 7.5 years. I mean, 20% or less, that's fantastic. But this week, we got 4 stop outs so far, which is 7% of the actionable alerts. Now, the purpose of the Logic 247 alerts is to teach you how to read a chart. Of course, you can trade them, but that's not the real reason behind them. Every Logic alert has an entry price, long or short, an initial target, and in most cases additional targets, then a final trade to target. The Logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session, and vice versa. So again, yes, you can trade them, but more importantly, use them to learn to read the chart so that you can create your own alerts, okay? Once you can read the chart, you don't need my alerts. So use my alerts to learn to read the chart, because, you know, there's going to come a day, I'm not quietly quitting or anything, but none of us are getting any younger, right? And so at some point in the future, God only knows when that will be, there won't be any Logic 247 alerts. What are you going to do then? Well, if you've been smart and used them to learn to read the chart, it won't matter, because you'll be able to create your own alerts. It's all about finding the windows of opportunity. That's where your best high probability, low risk trade opportunities exist. Now, 406 weeks is a long time. As I said, 7.5 years. But years before we introduced Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the Concierge Trade Alerts. Now, they're different in a lot of different ways. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'll just say this. They don't come out around the clock. They're published typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open each evening. So the Friday session began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. But all of our traders had these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. The S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. So as we go through these individual markets, you're going to see these targets drawn out on the screen. Just keep in mind that our traders had those targets 5 minutes before the market opened. With that, we can actually go to the charts and take a look at this. Okay, I posted this in the discussion group last night that the black step line had crossed blue and climbing again. Okay, back here on April 20th, we had a head fake. Notice on this move up how the black step line and blue and climbing are running parallel, and then they get closer and closer and closer. Once the step line crosses blue and climbing, what typically happens is a retracement back to the BBC. But this market was so bullish, it didn't. In fact, on this day, May 7th, it crossed back to the left side of blue and climbing, which is a highly unusual event, okay? That's why that area is marked as an important price, important area. Now that's not going to change. That will be good support when price gets there. And it probably will. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. It's called the BBC. It just stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and anticipate higher prices. Below the green line, we're bearish and anticipate lower prices. The pullback to the BBC holds more often than it doesn't. Now, right here, we got below the BBC, and you see this candle opened and closed below the BBC. So our bias becomes bearish. Then when price got above the BBC and we had a candle that opened and closed, our bias becomes bullish. Now, this pullback, hang on one second for me. I'm sorry, hang on a minute. All right, sorry. So the pullback to the BBC holds more often than not. Now, right here, it looks like, well, that pullback didn't hold, but it did. Each one of those candles is physically touching the BBC. So this is how price moves. Leg retracement, leg retracement, leg retracement, leg retracement. It's just how markets work. But the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. But eventually it will trade through, as it did right here, which led to this historic bull run, and day after day after day, all-time historic highs. And you've heard me say this will not go on forever, and so here's evidence that it's not going on forever. I'm sorry if I appear distracted. I am. Just keeping it real. All right, let's go look at the 30-minute chart. All the alerts are created on a 30-minute chart. There's nothing magic about 30 minutes. It's just a time frame I chose years ago. They say if it ain't broke, leave it alone. So I did. Now, on the 30-minute chart, you can see what I was just explaining even better. Leg retracement, leg retracement, leg retracement, leg retracement. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't, but eventually it will trade through like it did last night. And we got really close to the short target by 21.30. The low was 74.94 and a quarter, and the short target was set at 74.93. Now that was based off this area right here. See where the black step line crossed red and falling and turned it to blue and climbing? Yeah. So When the market finds support, it's going to go look for resistance. So again, now over here we're climbing. Leg retracement, leg retracement, leg retracement, leg retracement. But now the tables have turned. We're going in the opposite direction. Leg retracement, pull back held. And then a leg and a retracement, and then a leg and a retracement, and the pullback held, and it held, and it's still holding. We've got blue and climbing below us, so the market is trying to recover from the big sell-off overnight, but it's having a difficult time. Now, I should point out, this bull run, which began, which began March 31st to May 14th. This is historic, okay? Now the fibs from the low of March 31st to yesterday's new all-time high puts the shallowest possible fib retracement, the 24% retracement, at 75.29/30. Interestingly enough, that's also where the daily BBC is, and where I highlighted that the step line crossed back to the left side of blue and climbing without giving a pullback. And I kept saying, guys, this is unusual, okay? So anyway, so now today we're dealing with all of that. Now, in the grand scheme of things, today's sell-off does look ugly, but look where we were back on March 30th. To keep this bull market healthy, the shallowest possible retracement, the 24, the 38 is certainly a possibility, maybe even a 50, maybe a 62. This bullish cross right here. That's when the blue line gets above the green line and leads to an extended move. The first time price revisits that area will almost always be good support. Now, I'm not forecasting a sell-off to 67.11, but these crosses have a way of sometimes acting like a magnet. We'll see. Okay, so the ES, I didn't explain, I do it every day, but the vertical line separates today Friday from yesterday Thursday. Back over here is Wednesday. The horizontal lines are the weekly trading zones. We've published the zones for our members every Monday for over 16 years. They're published every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. Here's the idea. When price drops to a zone, we expect support. When price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. So we did make it through this zone, and then we got to pull back to the BBC, and the pullback held, which sent us up to the next zone, resistance, which sent the market looking for support at the zone. This zone is 73.97/98, and the low of that candle is 99. So we missed the zone by 1 point. Support sends the market looking for resistance, which it found at the zone. Keep in mind, these zones were published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. What they do is they give our traders a playing field, okay? Because price is always trying to get to a weekly trading zone. If price is below the BBC, it's trying to get to the zone below. If it's above the BBC, the green line, it's trying to get to the zone overhead. Below the BBC, the zone below. Above the BBC, the zone overhead. Now, again, this creates a playing field for our traders so that throughout the week they know where to anticipate major resistance and major support. When price encounters a weekly zone, only one of three things happens. 70% of the time, it's consolidation. Like that, like that. 20% of the time, it's rejection. And 10% of the time, the slice. That's when a 30-minute candle slices through a zone like it's not even there. That happened here, but what typically happens is when the move runs out of steam, price will retrace back to the zone it sliced through, then continue in the direction of the slice. In this case, that didn't happen. So this was the opening candle last night. We're above the BBC, but we got red and falling overhead. This is support. That's resistance. Resistance 1. And it took us down 1 point shy of the short target, which bounced us up to the BBC. Now this leg down found support. Now this area right here, I would have expected that to be good support. See the wick sticking up and the wick sticking down? You just put your crosshair right between the two, and that shows you where your support should be. So buyers came in a little bit early. They drove it up to the zone, and again, when price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance till proven otherwise. When price drops to a zone, we expect support until proven otherwise. And 70% of the time, when price hits a zone, it consolidates. This is some very wide-ranging consolidation. If we trade through blue and climbing, this day is going to get a lot uglier. Okay, I mean, we're substantially off the low of the session. But blue and climbing, okay, if that doesn't hold, then you got potential support here, potential support here. Actually got like a double bottom there. And then support here. And then the next zone is way down at 73.97/98. Now we'll see how the day ends. The Dow. Here's where we opened last night. We got below the BBC and below the zone. And by 9 o'clock, we hit the short target. Support sends the market looking for resistance. Now, the fact that we couldn't get all the way back to the BBC, that's a sign of weakness. So you got a leg and a retracement, a leg and a retracement. When price trades through a CTA short target, often on the retracement, the underside will become good resistance, as happened here. The same is true when price trades through a CTA long target. On the pullback, the top side will quite often become good support. So the long target was based off yesterday's all-time historic high, and the short target, as you can see, was based off this low right here. Now, this area should have been good support. This is a heavy market. It traded right through it. Now, during the life of the 30-minute candle, it may have struggled there a little bit, but typically that would give you a big bounce. A bullish cross that leads to an extended move the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good support. I guess we could argue that it did right here. Okay. If you look at the horizontal line of my cursor, this low basically takes you right here to the bullish cross. So support sends a market to resistance. Resistance sends a market looking for support. which we found at the zone here, 49,580/85. The Russell. Here's where we opened last night. Same scenario, red and falling overhead. That took us below the BBC, and we hit the short target by 9 o'clock. Then we got to the zone, which we expect to be support until proven otherwise. As you can see, it was yesterday. Here we got rejected, and it sent us up to a zone where we found resistance. Now, if you're not a member, if you're just watching this, how meaningful would it be for you to have this kind of information? I mean, if you're just looking at a naked chart, this looks like a pretty bullish move. You got no idea that this thing has the potential to grind to a halt at 28.80. But if you got the zones on your chart, you do. So I think the Russell only has one zone left below for the week, 27.59. Yep. Now the step line just tried to cross red and falling, but it flattened out. So that tells me we're probably going to continue dropping. And if we take out the low of the day, the next major support is right here, 27.91. After that, $27.87. Okay, that's market structure. It's really simple. You become a member, I'll teach you how to read the chart. The NQ. Here's where we opened last night. Dropped below the BBC. Hit the short target by 9:30. Support sent us looking for resistance, which we found at red and falling. So we got here we go. A lag and a retracement, a lag and a retracement, a lag and a retracement. See, on these retracements, the fact that we're not able to pull all the way back to the BBC, that is a sign of weakness. And now we're consolidating at the BBC. We got blue and climbing below us. That's bullish. But I don't see today turning green. Something pretty incredible would have to happen. Crude's green. Oh, and we also are rolling to the N contract. Now, these alerts were put out last night based on the M contract. But as of today, we're rolling forward to the N contract. So we had a target at 102.95. We opened last night at 102.06. So we ran up we ran up $900 per contract traded to the target. Gold getting crushed. I mean, this is brutal, and this is even worse. The lowest weekly zone is down at 71.51. Just a couple days ago, we were at 90 bucks. Now, I don't know if you were tuned in or not the other day when I said, oh Lord, this looks like a head and shoulder pattern. Head, shoulder, shoulder, neckline. Now, if you're a pattern recognition person, this sell-off should have only gone that far once the neckline was broken. which would have made perfect sense because we would have found support at the zone, which we did for an hour and a half. And then we just dropped and dropped.
Your chart's frozen, Dwayne.
And dropped.
So I'm not seeing you move your cursor at all.
Oh.
Is it just me?
Well, I don't know.
Because right now I see. There you go. Now I see. It went away anyway. There you go. Now I see your cursor moving. Okay.
Do you?
Yep. Now I do. I didn't see it when I first logged on.
But you know what? I'm looking at my little screen on. Yeah, my YouTube chart is stuck on the ES. What the heck happened? Guys on YouTube, sorry. I refreshed it and it's still stuck on the ES. Huh. I don't know.
I think there might be a little delay between here and there.
Yeah. No, I can see that it's not changing.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. If I fast forward, what? I don't know what's going on.
I don't know, but I can see your cursor moving now, though.
All right, buddy. All right, it's good time for you to take it over.
Okay, I'll take it over. There it is.
All right. Looks good.
All right.
Okay.
Whew. Ready. Let me refresh this page here because we put new stuff on that last night. And that's it. All right, so here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, the 15th day of May. We're halfway through May already. 2026. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, go ahead to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right here. There's no credit card required. When you click on that, it will now bring you to this page. It's all the stuff for next week, where all we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. Down at the bottom, gives you TradingView login ID. All right. Once you do that, hit register. And we'll be able to get your indicators indicating on your desktop. So you can follow along with us during the morning session and trade like we trade if you want to. In a demo, because you don't want to trade until you know what you're doing. But try to follow along with us and do everything that we're doing and see all the same things on your desktop. All right. We had a good day today, guys. It was the best day of the month. It was the best day since April 24th. So it's been a while since we had a day over 1,000, and we just made it today. Now, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 15th day of May 2026. We're up 181 ticks on the NQ, 22 ticks on the Russell, 13 ticks on the YN, and -3 on the ES. Now, we're back and forth quite a bit on the ES. I thought I heard my dog. We're back and forth quite a bit today on the ES. We were down, well, out of the 5 stop outs that we had, 3 of them were on the ES today. So we recovered from it. We got back above 0, did we? Yeah, we did. We started out with the ES. We actually started out with 2 ticks, and we got as low as -16, and then as high as +7, and then we ended up with -3. So you can tell that our last trade on the ES was a stop out. All right, let me get into it. Okay, today it took 8 minutes and 4 trades to get to the goal for the day. That were $125 with 1 contract or $12.50 with 10. We took 30 trades this morning, 30 of them. Count it. That was awesome. With 5 stop outs. 5 stop outs, I could do better than that, but it was still 83% of our trades were break even or better. I missed some nice trades, but I also missed some stop outs this morning. I probably missed about 10 trades altogether, 10 or 15 maybe. So there were more than 30. So on the month now, we're up $5,427 per contract over 10 business days, averaging $542 per contract per morning session. On the year, we're at $84,480 over 80 days, averaging $1,056 per contract per morning session. Now, following the 24/20 blueprint, if you were to quit trading when you get the goal for the day, if you were to quit trading when you get the goal for the day and at one contract per month, so far this year, you would have only had to work 11.96 hours. And if you did everything exactly like me and you got the same slippage as me and everything else, you'd be trading 5 contracts and you'd be up $32,595 gross. So that's an average of $2,723 per hour. All right, now let's get into it. So I see some of the guys that are in here right now were in the partners meeting last night. Those things that we talked about in the partners meeting last night, everything worked out this morning. Everything we talked about in the partners meeting last night. Let me just show you a little bit of this. Okay, this here was one of the things that we talked about in the partners meeting last night. It was the silver put, right? We talked about that, and we talked about the gold put last night. And the gold put, oops, that's not the one I want to go to. This one right here. The gold put was up 384% this morning, and the silver put was up 311% this morning. And I did something last night at some point. I think it was this one, I think, right here. If you go through and read this, if you are a CFRN passport holder, and you know, we talked about all this last night, but if you go through and read this, I did the analysis of this when I saw this happen at 5:20 in the morning to give you an idea of what was going to happen when the market opened up. Okay, so if you were in the partners meeting last night, this is be a good read for you, I think. Okay, enough of that. The Russell. Today on the Russell, we had 5 trades, it looks like. Here we are. Our first trade on the Russell was right here. We picked up 3 ticks on that. Looks like. I think that's 3. It could be a 5. I don't know. But I think it's, yeah, that's a 5. We picked up 5 ticks on that one. And then we made a mistake here. Well, we picked up another 5 ticks to get us to 10. And then we made a mistake. And we took a 3 tick stop out that put us down to 7. I was just looking at the price action. Okay, in here, I was just looking at the price action. And I took a trade, I believe I went the wrong way with this. Whatever it was I was doing, I went the wrong way with it. The background color wasn't right. I think it was this right here. I took a long trade right there because it was a 50% retracement coming out of the oversold, but the background color had changed to red. That's what it was. It was right there. So I took a little bit of a stop out on that, just 3 ticks. It did end up working out in the direction that I thought it was going to work out, regardless of the background color. But so we were at 7 ticks at that point. Then we got 10 ticks there. That got us to 17, and 5 ticks there got us to 22. And that is where we ended it with the Russell. This was our last trade of the session this morning, right there. That was the Russell. Now we'll go to the YM. All right, the YM. I think this is the whole session on the YM. It is. Our first trade on the YM, we picked up 5, then we picked up 14 more to get us to 19. Then, oddly, 14 more again to get us to 33. And then 7 to get us to 38. And then we stopped out back down to 13. And that was all we did on the YM this morning. Okay, none of those have trades right now. The ES, the ES, as I told you, was a little bit of a problem for me this morning. We started out with a stop out. Actually, no, we started out with a +2. That's early on. There it is right there. We started out with a +2 right there. And then we stopped out. That put us at minus, actually, I was off by 2 ticks on the ES. That should have put us at -8. And then we picked up 10 ticks, so that should have put us at -18. And then we picked up I'm sorry. We didn't pick up 10 ticks. We stopped out again. That should have put us at minus 18. And then we picked up 10 ticks, and it should have put us at minus 8. And then we picked up a little bit more, put us at minus 4. And then we picked up a little bit more, put us at plus 4. And then there was something else that got us to plus 5. And then we went down to minus. It should be minus 5 is what we should be at. Or minus 5 is what we should be at. Let me go fix that in here. I messed that up. On my sheet, this should be a minus 5. Same number of trades, but I did it wrong on my sheet. I did a minus 8 instead of a minus 10 on the first stop out. So we're at 1,017. We're still over $1,000 today. Well, that was all the trades on the yes this morning. We ended up with this last stop out right here, and that's what put us at. It actually put us at minus 5. And there was a lot of movement here during the break. A lot of movement during the break. Sure, there's some trades in there. There's one. There's one. There's one. All those were wins. There's one that was going to break even. That's not one. That's not one. Yeah, there's some decent trades there on the yes during the break. And now we get to the NQ. We have the majority of our trades this morning. Let's slide that all the way over like this. You see all those trades? They're just flying off like they used to back in the day when I couldn't go fast enough and I couldn't place all the trades. All right, so our first trade on the NQ was a plus 1. Then a few minutes later plus 10. Then a few minutes later, this should have been a plus 10, but they only gave me 1 tick. Then we were at 11 at that point, and this should have been a full 50, but they only gave me 28, so that put us up to 39. The DOM, I don't know if it's still doing, it's not bad right now. But that time in the morning session, the DOM had all kinds of blank spots and had a huge spread in it, so it was tough getting fills, getting decent fills. But anyway, after that trade, we were at 39. Then we went to 46. And then from 46, I think I had to step away for a minute in there. That's why there's no trades in there. And then I sat back down, and you can see we had a bunch from 46 to 64, then 64 to 68, then 68 to 75. Then we had a big one right here, 75 to 125. Then went to 143. Then 156, and then we stopped out down to 120. Then went from 120 up to 170, so that was another 50 tick trade right there. And then from 170 up to 181, and that was our last trade on the NQ this morning. All right, so we had good volatility, good trade setups, ample opportunity today, and we were able to take advantage of it in many different ways. All right, so let me go here now and say this. If you've not taken a free trial and you want to, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button, no credit card required for the trial. Let's come to this page, just fill it out. All right, now let's get in there and see if we can put some more trades on and wrap this week up with some good gains in these last 15 minutes today. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've said at this point? I know, we just keep rattling things off. It's been that kind of day so far. All right, so right here now, we need this right here. The YM needs to have a wick that hits the mid-band and then close up. That will be a trade. That's the closest we have to a trade right now. It's the YM. Okay. Scrolling. All right, now the NQ could be a trade. It just needs an up close on the NQ. Okay, the S isn't too far away from one either. So the YM still doesn't hit the midband. The NQ just gave the trade, and I'm in and out of it already. All right. Well, I don't know what I got on that. Just go see what they gave me. That is a weird fill. And anyway, I'll show you what they gave me. This is it. So it seems they're trying to make up for their screw ups this morning. Now the YM, and up close on the YM will be a trade. Below the YM is 10, so you'd be buying 30 on that. Put that one out here so we can watch it. That one's going slow enough we'll be able to watch, I think. All right. So that first one on the NQ. It's 12 ticks. I know it doesn't look like it went anywhere right here. Don't judge me. So we're waiting on the YM right now. The low is still in the same place, I think. The low is at 08 now, so this would be at 28. And it looks like it could turn into a trade right now. Right, the ES was not a trade. The NQ we actually took. We got a little bit on. The YM we're still waiting. The Russell is not a trade. The Russell should have flipped the YBR right here. It didn't. And there it is on the YM. All right, that needs to go up to 38 for my stop to bunt to +5. What time is it? 119. So plenty of time. Plenty of time. Back in the day with 11 minutes left, we could have 20 trades. I'd be happy with 5, 2. All right, they bumped it. Yeah. I'm just gonna lock in 10 ticks on it. And we're out with 10 on it. Okay. And slide this back over here. All right. Questions? Anyone about anything? We're gonna flip the YBI here on Russell finally. I hope. So things are starting to move up now. This is the ES. So the low of the day was way down here. Now, if you break this down, so I'm just going to cross. We did flip the YBR. Let's just look at this for a second. Okay. Let's just look at this for a second. We have this number here. I had drawn in a couple weeks ago. The high today was 540. I think I eyeballed that when I drew it, and it's 546 is what it says. Something like that. I don't know. If I click on it, it will say where it's at. 549.75. But I was eyeballing it when I drew it. It's just winging it. So this is a good spot for it to go up to. From here, retracement should come down to here, which I drew in the other day. That happens to be where the BBC is now. The other day when I drew it, the BBC wasn't quite there yet. But that's what we should see. We should see a decent retracement down to there, and then another leg up like this. If I clone this guy, that's what we should see. All right. Now, I did this, excuse me, I did this last night. Some of you guys may remember when I was showing you the diamond trade, right? And the space and time in the diamond trade. Okay, space and time. So if this does happen today, we'll say, I don't think it's going to get down there today. But whenever it does get down there, it's going to be some point in the future. Let's go out a couple of days like that. Then you could take this and let me just clone that. There we go. Use this one. Come on, man. This one. Take that and do the space and time out to here. So you're looking at the middle of June for another high up in this level up here. Something like this. Okay. If it goes from here, then it would be roughly in here. So the thing that I don't know is when it's going to come down and get to that, and when it's going to do the retracement. This is the beginning of the retracement, but it didn't do a full 50% retracement back here either. This is like a 24% retracement. It's half of this retracement. You see what I mean? If I go like this, from here to here, that's 25% right there. This is a 50% retracement. This is half of the 50s. So that makes that a 25% retracement. That's where it's sitting right now. And that's pretty much what it did the last time over here. Okay, so, I mean, we'll see where it goes. We're just going to trade what's in front of us anyway. But it's interesting to see the structure of the market. And those of you guys that were in the meeting last night, remember I showed you the put on that, and it opened, it went way down here this morning. So that was a double as well. And the SQQQ puts that I did, I lost a little money on those, but I made more than twice what I lost on this. So that was the whole design of the thing. It could go either way and I'd be okay. As long as it didn't stay flat. If it stays flat, then you lose.
Flat bad.
Yep, flat bad. You need a gap. Just need a gap. Can you guys hear that?
What?
No, my father-in-law's choking.
Oh.
He's downstairs choking.
You need to go check on him?
No, I hear Christina's doing something with him.
Okay.
I just didn't know if you guys could hear.
Did you see that thing I sent you in the boardroom?
Oh, I didn't see it. You know, he doesn't have the sense to stop putting things in his mouth when he starts choking. Oh, excellent, Dwayne. That's good. Perfect.
Yeah, that was pretty quick, huh? They said 4 days.
It was. It was. That's great.
I needed some good news after that whole driving fiasco.
The driving is. So I knew something had you down this morning when you came on. Something had you down because you were off. You started talking this morning. I could tell.
Yeah, that's what happens when you've been with somebody for 20 years.
Yep. So when is Agnes coming?
I think next week.
Oh, okay.
But then again, I thought the class didn't expire till midnight, so who knows? Maybe she's downstairs now. I don't know.
Yeah, I know she's been waiting at the airport.
No, I'll know when she's here because I got to go to the airport and get her. Yeah. And it'll probably be about 3 in the morning.
Yeah, probably.
It's a long flight from Uganda, man.
Oh, I'm sure it is. All the way to Phoenix too. That is. From North Carolina to Phoenix is a long flight for me.
Well, it's about 18 hours. The problem is that there's a 10-hour layover in London.
That makes it a full 28-hour day.
And then when you get there, everybody's all excited and they want to take you places and show you things, and all you want to do is just get horizontal. So
yeah, sleep. Well, she's going back in time.
She'll sleep for 2 days when she gets here. I'll see her come out of the guest room to go to the bathroom, and then it'll be radio silence for about 48 hours.
Wow.
In the middle of the night, because of the time difference, and because she runs so many things there, and of course she oversees the orphanage, and so I can hear her phone or her computer going ding, 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 ding. So
yeah, it's gonna interrupt your sleep.
Well, no, I'm upstairs. She's downstairs. Yeah.
How old is Agnes?
Gosh, I'm gonna guess 50.
Good question. 50? Okay, I figured she was younger than us.
Well, Xander turned 20 this year on his birthday. And so when I first met Chris and Agnes, I'm going to guess Agnes was 25, 26, just guessing. But,
I'm glad I got to have that time with him a couple of weeks ago. I learned a lot, and enough so that I can do a lot of things that he had to do by myself.
Yeah, he's catching. Oh, and he found something that he's using now instead of OpenClaw. He says it works so much better.
Hermes or something like that. There's
I don't know.
The next thing.
I'll have him shoot you a message in Telegram with whatever it is he's doing now.
Yeah, there's one that's supposed to be less expensive that's supposed to be better than OpenClaw. And I mean, I've got OpenClaw doing so much for me right now that I hate to switch. But I mean, I could employ the other one without OpenClaw even knowing, and it seems like almost every day I have a problem with it. Like today on this computer, yesterday, I had to do all the stuff for me, do the picks, and it got confused again. And then it came around and I did all the picks, and then I put them out, and it said it was all fine and everything's good to go. And then I get in there this morning and it was dead. I had to restart the gateway again. And when I restarted the gateway, it lost its connection to Schwab. So I had to redo the connection to Schwab. And then I was able to go through and fix everything. But that shouldn't happen. The one downstairs, on my laptop, I created that other account with Schwab so I could have a separate connection.
Right.
So they each have their own connection to Schwab, and that one didn't have a problem. And like today, when I wanted to go and get the results today, the midday results, I went and asked this one what the midday results were, and I left because I had to go do some stuff. And I checked it on my phone, and it had all these issues connecting. And before I left, I did it here, and then I went downstairs and I did the same thing down there on my laptop to see which one was going to come back with the results. And the one on the laptop came back with all the stuff I wanted in just a couple of minutes. So there's something wrong with this one. So OpenClaw's got issues. It's if you stick with it and you stay on it 24 hours, then it'll keep responding and it won't have off time. I think it goes after itself, it like tears itself apart. And I just realized it's 1:30. All right.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea.
Yes, I know, we talked right through that. All right, well, I took 2 trades and they were both positive, so we'll put it in.
That's good.
Down here, let me do this. 0 1 above, 0 1 above. Okay, so today that's a 94, and today is 515. And I took 1 NQ for 12 ticks and 1 YM for 10 ticks. Okay, those are the 2 trades, and copy and paste that in. $100, that's enough to get the goal for the day. And we'll copy Enter that in.
For those trading one contract, that would be $110.
It would be 2, 0, and this is 15, and this goes to a 94. All right, so we had 2 trades with 0 stop outs today. We had 15 minutes of trading time. $12 ticks on the NQ and 10 ticks on the YM. Put us at $1,100 with 10 contracts, or 110 with 1 contract. And that brings our average to $116.97 per contract in these sessions. And we're averaging 14 and a half minutes of trading in these sessions. Okay, now if you have not taken a free trial, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple. There is no credit card required for the trial. When you do that, it's going to bring you to the registration page. Just fill it out. Okay, just fill out the registration
what that's
page.
going to do is it's going to give you access to the live training room 2 hours a day. And it's going to give you access to the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, the weekly trading zones. You won't have access to everything like the private channels in Telegram, but you'll get a real good idea, good feel for what we do, because we work literally around the clock. It's just, we have a 2-hour live broadcast, the live training room, and then this afternoon broadcast. What you just saw Michael do, that's what he does for 2 hours each day in the live training room. He's teaching you as he trades.
Yes. And the free trial comes with the one-on-one stuff. You should take advantage of that.
Yeah, if you take the free trial, definitely request a one-on-one session with Michael or myself, because or both. Yeah. We're happy to meet with you, try to help you better understand everything that's going on. I know it seemed a little overwhelming at first. It's like, oh my gosh, I can never learn all this stuff. Well, it just takes a little time. Once you see it over and over and over and over, then you develop muscle memory, and it's just all of a sudden you go, well, that wasn't so hard. But you got to show up and you got to do the work. You got to, there's no get rich quick scheme. Not here, not anywhere that works. No, this is about teaching you how to trade. We want you to be able to do what we do without us in the picture. We want to get you to the point where you don't need us anymore. That's our goal. But you can still, and a lot of our traders still come and hang out in the live training room, even though they're perfectly capable of doing it all on their own. Trading can be a lonely business. So the live training room is a place where people can gather, ask questions and just shoot the breeze. So anyway, I interrupted you. Carry on.
That's all right. I only one other thing to say. If you're watching this now and you are a partner and you didn't make it to the partners meeting last night and you're interested at all in the option stuff that we've been talking about, go watch the partners meeting from last night, because we did, from start to finish, a whole bunch of information about the option stuff last night.
And my Schwab account, which I've had since 2001, I think, or 90, maybe 99, I wasn't enabled for options. So I applied to be enabled for options, and it said it would take 4 business days. But I just got an email this morning that says you're approved. So
yep. So they and Dwayne actually pretty much verbally walked through the whole option process, the application process, the questions that they have and all that stuff. And I sort of gave my input.
Yeah, so it was a really good workshop. So if you weren't there live and you're a member and have access, you definitely should go watch that video.
Yes. All right. So with that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
I am, and hopefully you can see my chart.
There it is. I can see it just fine. I thought I just saw your mouse move.
Can you see my mouse?
Yep.
My mouse is really tiny on your end, right?
It is teeny tiny.
I gotta fix. There's a resolution issue.
It is.
I gotta fix that.
There's a setting thing. I have mine at the biggest mouse you can be.
Well, as you can see, we're well off the low of the session, and you can see right there where the black step line crossed blue and climbing, at the open last night. So when the step line crosses blue and climbing, what typically happens is a retracement to the BBC, whether you're on a 30-minute chart or on a daily chart. I am impressed by how much we've recovered off the lows.
Yeah, I am too. It doesn't look like that. The drawdown today is going to stick. We'll see. We'll see over the weekend what happens.
Recap of the morning session.
Today it took 8 minutes and 4 trades to get to $1,250.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, we got a holiday coming up.
It's not next week though, is it? It's
no,
the week after.
It's Memorial Day.
It's a long weekend next weekend, the Monday.
Yeah. I need to make some. Oh. Yeah. It's the 29th that I have those tickets to What the Fela on Fox News. It's a Saturday night program. So, yeah, I probably still won't go. If anybody wants my tickets, if you live in the greater New York City area, you want to go to a live taping of the What the Fela show with Jimmy Fela on Fox News, the 29th of this month, let me know, and I'll see if the tickets are transferable. So, okay, well, I guess, Michael, I'll talk to you probably over the weekend, but I'll definitely see you Monday morning.
Excellent. I'll talk to you then.
Okay, buddy. All right, guys, I have covered all the markets in granular detail, as I do each and every day. If you missed any part of today's broadcast, once I sign off here in a few minutes, give it 10 minutes and then go to youtube.com/CFRN, and you can watch today's broadcast in its entirety, or you can fast forward to whatever part you're interested in. We did drop the YouTube connection today. I got to get that fixed, but I don't know how, so I'm going to figure that out. Anyway, so there may be some blank spots. It may actually create 2 separate broadcasts. So anyway, just a brief look. Here's where we are on the ES. And the CTA targets, of course, our members had them 5 minutes before the market opened last night. So again, I covered it all in granular detail, so you can watch it later if you want. Here's a look at the Dow. See, the problem is, we finally closed above the BBC. Now, you heard me say the pullback holds more often than not. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. And as you can see, price always moves in legs. Leg retracement, leg retracement. That's a reversion to the mean right there. Leg and a retracement. Pullback held, pullback held, pullback held, pullback held, pullback held, until it didn't. And that's how it works. Pullback holds more often than it doesn't. When the market finds support, it's going to go look for resistance. So then we had another leg and another retracement, and we found resistance at the weekly trading zone. The zones are published every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. Now, this bullish cross that happened on Wednesday, that's when the blue line gets above the green line. As you can see, that was this low right here. And then we've just did some wide-ranging consolidation at the zone. But look at all these attempts to get back above the BBC. So we closed above the BBC, but the candle is still touching the green line. So what we need is a candle that both opens and closes above the BBC without touching it. That could be this candle. There's still, 19 minutes left in the life of this candle. So if we come back during the life of this candle and touch the BBC, then that means the leg and the retracement is still holding. It would be nice if we could maybe get back to the zone overhead. That's not the lowest zone. There's zones below that. Quite a few. There's 4 more zones below. That's the all-time historic high, which was put in yesterday, which led to this. So there's a look at the Dow. Support at the zone, resistance at the zone, support at the zone, resistance at the zone. The Russell. Support at the zone, then we traded through it, but then on the pullback, the zone acted as good resistance, and that's what you expect. You expect the zone to be, if you're moving up, you expect the zone to be resistance until proven otherwise. When price drops to a zone, you expect support until proven otherwise. So the step line has now crossed on the Russell. That's the one that was leading to the downside today. So we'll see if it can go up and tag the BBC and get through it. But you should expect the pullback to hold until it doesn't. Now the underside of this CTA short target, that can become good resistance when price trades through one of the CTA targets on the retracement, whether it's on the short side or the long side. If it trades through it on the retracement, it can often become, in this case, good resistance. Crude oil. Now the alerts issued last night were for the M contract, but I'm going to go ahead right now and roll forward so I don't forget Sunday night when I start doing the weekly trading zones for next week. Now all the alerts that go out Sunday night will be based on this week's zones, but once the new zones are published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, then everything all week will be based on the new zones. We publish the zones every Monday for our traders since December 14th of 2009. That's every Monday for over 16 years. So look at what a difference here. Let me go back to the M contract. We're basically 105.05 on the M contract. But I'm going to officially roll it right now so I don't forget Sunday night. And I'm going to leave it there. So people often say when there's a rollover, don't you have to change the weekly trading zones? Interestingly enough, the answer is no. Support. Yeah. These zones were created for the M contract, but I rolled to the N, and you can see zones still do the same job: resistance, support, resistance. And we got through the zone, then we got through this zone, initial support, but the pullback held and sent us lower. And right now, we're sitting above $100.35, which is not, there's one more zone way above. So this may be the high of the session. Metals got hammered. I mean hammered. Gold is now pulled back to the BBC. It pulled back here and the pullback held, which gave us another leg to the downside, but we didn't put in a lower low. So maybe this will turn the ship around. Silver also hammered, but we found support at the zones 77.11/12. Still one more zone below. Hopefully we can get back above the BBC and at least get back to that zone overhead by the close of business today. So again, that was just an abbreviated look at the charts, but I went through everything again in granular detail as I do every day. To become a member, get a hold of Valerie. Email her support@cfrn.net. Call her at 949-42-EMINI. Just let her know you're interested in becoming a member. She'll send you an info packet that explains everything. And once you become a member, you get 2 hours of live training every trading day. Now, these are real trades in real time, real money. And as Michael is putting on and taking off trades, he is answering questions. And I'm answering questions. We're explaining what's happening. So it is a learning environment. It's like going to school. You show up every day. You show up every day. You show up every day. You start trading in sim. Once you put together 10 consecutive days in a row where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less, that's when you're ready to go live. It's all spelled out in the 2420 blueprint, and every new member gets a copy of the 2420 blueprint. Now, I wrote that, back in 2008, I think. Markets were a lot more liquid back then. The reason it's called the 2420 blueprint, it's designed to help you go from 1 to 20 contracts over a period of 24 months. So it's slow, gradual growth. However, the markets are not as liquid today as they were back in 2008. So once you get above 10 contracts, you start to get an awful lot of slippage. Okay, so you start with one contract. Okay, 2 points in the ES with one contract, it's worth $100. So from humble beginnings come great things. Make $100 a day for 20 consecutive days. You've increased your account balance by $2,000. Now you're ready to add a second contract with the profit you earned from trading. So now you're making $200 a day, just taking 2 points out of the ES, or 20 points out of the Dow. So now for a month, you're going to trade 2 contracts, and then you'll use the profit you earned in the market to add a third contract, and then a fourth, and then a fifth. By the time you work your way up to 5 contracts, those same 2 points out of the ES are now worth $500. So $500 a day, that's not a bad living. If you choose to keep growing at 10 contracts, just 2 points from the ES, it's worth $1,000 per contract traded. Now to put that in context. Oh, this candle looks like it's going to come back and hit the BBC. This candle right here, it opened at 74.50. We'll call it 51. We'll call it 50 because it ran up to 70. So that's a 20-point candle right there, from the open to where, or to the high. Yeah. So all you're looking for is 2 points. That one candle is 20 points. Okay. So you're going to contact Valerie, you're going to get the information, you're going to make a well-informed decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. Once you become a member, you're going to get what 9 out of 10 new traders don't get, and that's somebody who will actually teach you how to trade. 9 out of 10 new traders fail simply because they don't have anyone to teach them. There's a gazillion people out there who will sell you their indicators, their oscillators, and even an instruction manual. But they're not going to spend 2 hours a day with you teaching you, and you're not going to get free private one-on-one mentoring. It really makes us unique. That's why we're still around 20 years later. CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network, began in 2005. I guess that's 21 years ago. This April made 21 years. And that's why we're still around, because we do what the other folks don't do. A lot of them promise it, but then they don't do it. The strategy you learn, the indicators you use as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Now, we focus primarily on futures, but you can use the same strategy and the same indicators to trade stocks, crypto, Forex, ETFs, even options. As a passport holder, you'll get the Logic 247 alerts around the clock. Every evening, typically 5 minutes before the Globex Open, you'll get the concierge trade alerts. Every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, you get the weekly trading zones. And every Thursday night, you're able to attend the members-only workshop. And last but not least, you get the golden keys that open all the private channels in Telegram, which means, like, as an example, one of the private channels is the members-only workshop video channel. We record each members-only workshop. So any of our members that weren't there last night live in real time can go watch. We went almost 2 hours last night. That was basically Michael breaking down options, getting your options account enabled. I went through the process last night live in real time. Submitted my application, and I got an email this morning that I was approved. They said it would take 4 days, but I got my approval today. So I've been focused. I started out trading stocks, and then in 2006, I switched to futures. And once I started trading futures, I just never looked back. There are so many benefits. Number one, futures trade around the clock. Now, supposedly stocks are going to start trading around the clock sometime this year. I think when the press release came out last year, the CME said they were going to go to a 24/7 schedule. I think they said in June. I'll have to check on that, or you can Google it. It wasn't the CME, it was the New York Stock Exchange that said that. So anyway, it's everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. Chances are, if you've been trying to learn how to trade for any period of time, you're using a couple indicators you got at one place, and you're using a couple rules you learned at some other place, and you're trying to patchwork it all together. What really sets us apart is that everything here, it's under one roof. Okay? The indicators, strategy, and most important, the live training. And while the trading room is only open 2 hours a day, we provide support around the clock via Telegram. So to get a hold of Valerie, support at cfrn.net, or just call 949-42 Emini. She'll send you the information you need so you can make up your mind. All right, let's wrap it up with our good word for the day. We started yesterday with live like you believe it. This is part 2. Romans 4:20, he did not waver at the promise of God. The Archbishop of Canterbury was acquainted with an actor named Mr. Butterton. One day he asked Butterton, "What is the reason you actors on stage can affect your congregations with the speaking of things imaginary as if they were real, while we in church speak of things real, which our congregations only receive as if they were imaginary?" Butterton replied, "We actors on stage speak of things imaginary as if they were real, and you in the pulpit speak of things real as if they were imaginary." The world needs Christians who speak like they believe what God said in His Word is true. And here's the important part: live accordingly. Sometimes you might wonder why your kids don't do what you tell them to do. You think everything you say goes in one ear and out the other. They hear you, but more importantly, they're watching you. Do you actually live the life that you tell them they should be living? That's where the rubber meets the road. So again, the world needs Christians who speak like they believe what God said in His Word is true and live accordingly. When Abraham was 80, God promised him he would father a son. 20 years later, it hadn't happened. But Abraham was standing firmly on God's word. He did not waver at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strengthened in faith, giving glory to God and being fully convinced that what he had promised, he was also able to perform. That's Romans 4:20 and 21. William James, the first educator to offer a course in psychology, said, "If you want a quality, act as if you already have it." He also said, "Act as if what you do makes a difference," because it does. St. Augustine said, "God loves each of us as if there were only one of us." If you fully grasp the truth of this, it will set you free from fear, because that's what God's perfect love does. 1 John 4:18. God can't love you any more or any less, because He already loves you unconditionally and eternally. You just need to live like His beloved, because you are. And that's our good word for today. Hope you have a great weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this: there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.